That's right. It's Tuesday. It's time for Scott Cole and Nick Mizesko. We're going to be going through the NFL draft today, Nick. And we're just a couple days away from that. If someone's listening to it, hopefully you listen to it today or tomorrow. Or, cool thing is, you can listen to it and hear how wrong we are. Because I'll be honest with you, Nick. I think this one's a tough one to mock up. I've been doing mock drafts for, I guess, like the last decade on radio. So, yeah, this one's been one of the tougher ones to mock, and I think a lot of it's because the skill positions just nothing like jumps out at you. It's a lot of linemen, a lot of edge rushers. And the good thing, Nick, is that fits a lot of the team's needs.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of teams with multiple picks in the first round. That's going to make things interesting. I think the lack of quarterbacks that people are clamoring over is a big deal. This is probably the worst quarterback draft since the Paxton Lynch draft. I mean, we're talking, almost 10 odd years. And yeah, I just don't think there's a lot of people that are wowed by the skill positions. And because of that, we're going to be getting a lot of those big boys. We're going to be getting the big boys in play this year. And I'm excited for that.
The other interesting thing is a lot of these teams in the top 10 have multiple needs, right? So they can go multiple directions. It's not like, oh man, like Lions need a quarterback. That doesn't mean they're going to take a quarterback. We might not even see a quarterback in the first round of this draft. So if you're out there, you got comments as we move along here. We'll give people a couple minutes to catch in for those that are going to be live. If you're listening to this, either watching it on demand or you're listening to it on the podcast, we appreciate you. We're back every Tuesday. You can catch us live, 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's when we really try to rock it out here. And I guess we'll be coming back and we'll be breaking down the draft. We'll be seeing where we thought would happen and where we kind of went astray. Because I've been looking over a lot of mock draft, Nick, and it's kind of all over the place, even like in the top 5 picks.
Yeah, and I think this draft is it does speak to the fact that, remember, a lot of these kids lost a year of full training with COVID. Obviously the Big Ten only played 6 games in 2020. And a lot of players sat out. And not to mention that some of the top prospects you're talking about had some major injuries, namely Drake London. Jameson Williams is coming off of an injury just a couple months ago. So I think there's just a lot of X factors in this draft of, what teams are going to take a shot on some of these players that are coming off an injury. What teams, I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau is a great player, but people wonder, how much does not seeing him over this last year, as much as that hurt him. And then, then you get into the offensive lineman, which, Scott, it's weird. Offensive linemen tend to be the most reliable picks. We tend to think back about how good they are. And then I think back to Eric Fisher and I go, well, maybe that draft wasn't great because there were 2 offensive linemen right at the top, and our team's gun shy about going lineman in the top 5. I don't know. It is a very interesting draft, and I don't have to worry about it all because the Browns don't have a first round pick. So I can just take a nap during the first round. I can just wonder what other teams are going to do, and I don't have to worry about the Browns messing up their first round pick.
Well, the Jaguars have 12 picks, and we're going to get to our mock draft right now because you can see we got some people already below asking questions and making comments. That's what it's all about. If you're like you said, if you're watching this on demand or if you're listening to the podcast, hit us up at Scott Cole Show, at Nick Mizesko. Let us know your comments. We'll make sure they're featured on the live show when we come back next week. So hope everybody's doing great. What we're going to do right now is we're going to jump in to this mock draft, and Nick's going to be the GM, and I'm going to be the I'll sort of be the media here, kind of reacting to the picks you make. So Jaguars are on the clock, and Nick, what I've heard for the Jags is, man, they got so many needs.
Yep.
I think this is going to be an edge rusher, but you as the GM, the number 1 pick for the Jaguars, who have 12 picks, by the way, as I said, who are you taking?
Jacksonville's interesting. Let's start with they are lucky that they don't need a quarterback. Obviously, taking Trevor Lawrence, they're set at quarterback for a while. And this is a good year to not need a quarterback. A lot of these top teams are quarterback hungry, and the Jaguars not being there is a positive. I think it's edge rusher as well. I've started hearing word, some people saying, could they possibly go Trayvon Walker at 1? I don't love the pick. I think it's between 2 players. It's Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. And I will give for each of these teams. I'm gonna give who I think they should go with and who I want them to go with. Who I think they should go with and who I think they are going to go with. Who
All
I
right.
think they should go with is Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is elite. I think Kayvon Thibodeau, it's one of those trust your gut sort of moments of we've seen this guy. He has elite first step. This is a player that is a little raw, but at the same time has just elite bend, is really good off the edge. I think they're going to go Aiden Hutchinson, though. I think everybody has fallen in love with Aiden Hutchinson, especially with the season that the University of Michigan had this year. Coming off 14 sack season, I think they're going to go Aiden Hutchinson. It just makes sense. If you're Detroit, though, at 2, you're just staring up, licking your chops, because at the end of the day, you're really happy whichever one falls in your lap.
That's true. So are we going with, let's go with your picks here. So who
I would take Thibodeau. I would go Thibodeau at 1.
You're taking Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Look at this. We're on the clock. He is gone. So edge rusher from Oregon, Thibodeau, goes first to the Jaguars. I think they're going to go Walker, but and that's kind of the thing that's,
it would be very Trent Baalke like. I mean, this is the guy who just gave Christian Kirk $17 million. So
who knows?
I don't know.
Detroit Lions on the clock. I mean, this would have been a great year for there to be a top quarterback in the draft, right? Yeah. Either the Jaguars would have moved back and got some great picks and assets for it, or the Lions would be getting a really good quarterback here at number 2. That doesn't exist. I personally still don't think there's a first-round quarterback in this draft. If anybody gets a quarterback, they're going to reach. No way nobody takes a quarterback. They could take a corner, but no one takes a quarterback here at number 2. So GM Nick Mizesko, Thibodeau's off the board. Who are you taking at number 2 here?
Again, Detroit, another team, a lot of holes. There are a lot of ways you could go with this one. This is another one that I've heard Trayvon Walker possibly going. I'm going with, who I think in this situation they're going to go with. If Kayvon Thibodeau gets one, they're taking Aiden Hutchinson. They're keeping the Michigan boy at home. It's a perfect fit for them. They need some pass rush. I think Hutchinson would be a great fit in Detroit. I think Hutchinson would be a great representative for Detroit. And obviously, listen, this team is probably in a 3 to 4 year rebuild at this point. Jared Goff's going to hold down the quarterback position, get some pass rush. They have plenty of picks in this draft. Get the pass rusher that's going to solidify your defense for the rest of the for at least until he decides he wants to go to Los Angeles.
All right, so the Michigan man goes number 2 to Detroit. I love that pick, by the way. I just don't see, for some reason, Walker's flying up these boards. So it's hard, to kind of sit here and say, well, we're not going to see a Trayvon at this point. Who are you taking for number? I love, by the way, on this, we're using PFF NFL draft here for those that are watching. I love Houston, Texas needs every position.
Everything. They need all of them.
They need everything.
There's not a single position they could not use they need a kicker.
Yeah, sure. They do need a kicker.
Yeah, I listen, Scott, I'm with you. I do not buy into the Trayvon Walker buzz. I think for all these people who sit there and go how athletic he is and how much of a freak he is, how little production he had scares me. I don't care how good you look in doing bench press, and I don't care how good your 40-yard dash is. If you were that good, you'd have more sacks, especially in the SEC. That's some elite talent you're going up against, and you were dominating. But number 3, Houston. This is one of those picks that I think you could go multiple ways. I think you could see an offensive lineman go off the board here, but I think they're probably, because they have needs at every position, they're probably going best player available. And at that point, it's Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU. Take the cornerback. This guy is a stud at LSU. Great hands. This is somebody who can play both man-to-man and zone. And for Houston, I don't know. Who do you got out at corner? Can anybody out there name any of the cornerbacks they currently have for the Houston Texans?
I mean, you like them better than Gardner out of Cincinnati?
Yes. I think Gardner's really good. And I think
Has
Gardner will
never
not be
given
on
up
the
a
board.
touchdown in the history of his career,
Yeah.
like
I
ever.
I think Gardner is very good. I think Stingley gets the benefit of a lot of game tape against elite competition. Again, sorry, Cincinnati. You don't play in the best conference in the world, so I appreciate how good he is, but at the same time, he's locking down a lot of wide receivers that aren't going to be picked in the first 3 days of the NFL draft. But I don't think Gardner is going to last too much longer on the board.
All right, so scroll back up. We have Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Stingley Jr. is now gone. That puts the lowly New York Jets on the clock. They need a wide receiver, a linebacker, a corner. There's some good ones out there for the Jets, even though I'm still not convinced that they have a quarterback there, but it has been better than it has been in the past. But wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback, GM Nick Mizesko of the New York Jets. What are you going for?
This one is tough because they do have some needs. I like this wide receiver class. I just don't know if you can take a wide receiver at number 4. I like a lot of these guys. I just don't know if there's that talent there. This is where I think Sauce Gardner goes. I think New York really wants to shore up that defense. They, again, have a lot of picks in this draft. So I think Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati, this is where he goes off the board. They continue to build that defense. I know a lot of people, this is also a place where people have been saying Kyle Hamilton could go.
Yep.
I like Kyle Hamilton. The reason why I don't think the Jets go with Kyle Hamilton here is there has been, ever since Jamal Adams has left, there has been this like aversion in New York to not think too much about Jamal Adams and not talk too much about replacing Jamal Adams. I don't think they want to spend a pick on a safety who is basically going to be Jamal Adams, a not as coverage heavy guy, but somebody who can hit in the box. That's Jamal Adams for you. I think a cornerback is so valuable these days. I think Gardner's really good. Listen, could they go offensive line as well to give Zach Wilson some help? Yes, but I think they go defense and go Sauce Gardner.
That's crazy because some of these offensive tackles are really starting to rise up the board as well. I'll be surprised if we don't see some sort of offensive tackle go off the board in these first 5 picks.
Yep.
As we're getting there. But let's lock in Gardner. He's going to the Jets. So we got Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Stingley Jr. out of LSU, and now Ahmad Gardner, Sauce. Big corner from Cincinnati, and that's the reason he didn't give up a lot of touchdowns. He's big.
Yeah, 6'3".
And that's what Paul Carrera's saying out there. 6 Trey. You're right, Paul. He's a big guy. 2 back-to-back picks sort of coming here for the Giants. They pick at 5th, and then they pick again at 7th. I think these next 2 picks, 5 and 6, these could be 2 teams in the Giants and Panthers that might be looking to move back. They need an offensive line, they need an edge rusher, and a linebacker. It's so funny that now with the 4-3 and 3-4, there's no longer defensive ends. Like defensive ends, not a draft position. It's like, are you a rusher or are you a linebacker? And they need both, and they certainly need offensive line as well. Hopefully Saquon comes back and has the kind of season he has. Certainly losing him for any fantasy owner or Giants owner was detrimental. Who you got at number 5 here? With really, you got Charles Cross kind of being the best available. They got Evan Neal as well. I think they're kind of looking for somebody that maybe want to move to right tackle.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of good. This is, I think, 5 where they go offensive line, especially having their pick of the offensive lineman at this point.
Yeah.
I lean towards Evan Neal here at 5. Somebody who is a little more polished run blocker, and this is a team that wants to not only get some protection for Daniel Jones, but they want, if Saquon Barkley is still there and still running, they want to make sure they can create some holes for him. I think that's where Evan Neal goes. He was a really good run blocker at Alabama, big boy. Is going to shore up that offensive line for a long time. I think if you're New York, you're happy either way you go, Cross or Neal. I think that is. By the way, even a Conwu is really good. He's
like he could be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
By the way,
it's crazy how many good offensive linemen in this draft. Yeah.
If they don't take, which Walker's the other rumor to the Jags, but also an offensive tackle is something that could happen as well. Panthers on the clock at 6.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, those that are still saying Kenny Pickett, I can't buy into that right now. I just can't. I mean, it's such a reach for these quarterbacks that are getting second, third, fourth round grades. You desperately need a quarterback, but they need to move out of here. They got to move out of 6. I know the Eagles are looking to move up. There's some other teams that are trying to move up and get some of these edge rushers, get some of these, offensive tackles. They have some real trade bait here at 6.
Yeah, this is where I sort of thought Baker Mayfield was going to end up, and they were going to be able to not only get their quarterback for a couple mid-round picks, but then trade out of 6. The reports are coming out that they're not going to make a move for Baker until after the draft, if at all. And so because of that, I still don't think they can go quarterback at 6. I think the most likely is that they trade back, but we're not playing trades here. So let's go with, if they end up picking at number 6, I think this is another position where there are a lot of offensive linemen out there. I think Charles Cross makes a lot of sense for Carolina. For all of the flack we gave the number of quarterbacks that they played in Carolina last year, from Sam Darnold to PJ Walker to Cam Newton, none of them were protected very well. I'm not saying any of them would have been better if they had a great offensive line, but I think this is where they need an offensive line. That offensive line is absolutely putrid. Get Charles Cross. This is a good all-around pass blocking tackle that can play the left side. I think this makes sense. But I think the most logical thing, Scott, is that they trade back. They pick up a couple first-round picks and trade back, because I just don't think. I don't know. Carolina at number 6, they were bad last year. Don't get me wrong. I think they are a team that were bad because of quarterback play, not because they have they're not Houston, where there are so many holes that they have to fill in this draft that to get to anywhere near competitive. I think this Carolina team is good. They just have 2 very bad problems, which is their quarterback and their O-line.
Fighter Slayer 36 out on YouTube says, of course, he looks like he's a Celtics fan as well. Congratulations. I don't think a QB is going to be in the top 10. I'm not sure there's a QB in the top 20. I think the Steelers might be the first team to take a quarterback off the board, and I think it would be Willis. That's who they're kind of keeping their eyes on there at 20.
Yeah.
But just to recap, Thibodeau off the board, Hutchinson, Stingley Jr., Gardner, Neal to the Giants, and now Charles Cross to the Panthers. I actually like that pick, Nick. That's a great pick coming in from you, because you need a quarterback, and you're probably going to take a younger one in some of your other picks. So yeah. I like trying to sew up that offensive line, and who knows what you're going to do with some of the skill players.
I mean, here's all I'm saying.
All kind of rumors about what might happen to McCaffrey.
Carolina, I mean, could they go get Sam Howell later in the draft, a North Carolina boy, keep him in Carolina? If you're going to develop somebody, I mean, this team, given an offensive line, let him sit for a year or play him, because I don't think they have anybody else to play. I still think they should go out and get a quarterback like Baker Mayfield and let him play for a couple of years. But could they go get Sam Howell in the second or third round? Possibly.
We'll be back next Tuesday, no doubt about it. We're going to keep rolling on through the draft, but we'll be doing our draft grades. We'll be seeing how everybody's doing out there. Giants, we're not allowing Nick to trade, by the way. Giants are on the clock at number 7.
The Giants trade both their picks to the Cleveland Browns for 4 ham sandwiches, and the Browns select really good players. So
sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Yeah. I'm getting pretty hungry. They took Evan Neal, the tackle from Alabama, who's pretty much a left tackle. They're not going to be able to move him to right. So that could – I don't want to get into it. The Giants already had him in left tackle, but we'll let that slide today. Pick number 7. You got some edge rushers out there. You got some linebackers, and I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of Georgia Bulldogs come off this board at some point. You have yet to take a Georgia Bulldog, but at some point they're really going to start to fly off this board.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Giants roster. I don't really think they have a solidified left tackle. Like, Glowinski can play left tackle, but I think he's more inside. So that's where I like it. This second pick from New York is interesting. Here's what's crazy. Like, let me just, this is not going to happen. But if you wanted to make a play for the New York Giants being like, listen, we're going to give Daniel Jones the best chance possible to be successful, they take Ikem Ekwonu here and take 2 offensive linemen and go, we have given you 2 young offensive linemen, go crazy. But they're not going to do that because the New York Giants are crazy. This is where I think Trayvon Walker goes. This is a perfect spot for a bold pick from the New York Giants with 2 picks in the top 7. Listen, I think they have some pieces on the D line. Dexter Lawrence is somebody who is very good.
Sure.
Put Trayvon Walker next to him and let that pass rush go crazy. This is also a spot you could see I'm blanking on his name. Nakobe Dean, the Georgia linebacker.
Yeah,
You could
everybody
also
wants
see
to
him.
reach for Dean, right?
Yeah.
And he's way down here. Try to think where they got him ranked here, but he's down the board a bit. But here at 19, but you're going to see some teams, especially when we start. This is kind of a needs draft.
Yeah.
You're gonna see some people kind of start jumping on. Some of these Georgia Bulldogs. There's a lot of them in the top 20 that are going to go.
The Georgia team was pretty good. I don't know if you saw them. They were pretty decent.
I didn't catch them. Did they do okay this season?
They did okay.
After Clemson lost them in the opening game, I never watched another game.
It's fine. That's fair.
No, they were tremendous. Long overdue on the title. That puts the Falcons on the clock, who got rid of Matt Ryan among other positions. I mean, their team needs are deep. Yeah. Quarterback, guard, center, so offensive line, defensive line, and then corner. They got a decent defense, but I'm worried that they're not going to be able to move the ball in a conference that a lot of teams are going to move the ball.
This is where we're going to see one of, in my opinion, this is where we're going to see either the first quarterback or first wide receiver go off the board. I know that PFS did not list wide receivers in need for them, but I think that's because they ran out of room. They lost Calvin Ridley. He's not going to be there next year. They lost Russell Gage. Like they are hungry at wide receiver. But if knowing Arthur Blank means anything, this is
a wideout.
Yeah, well, this is also a guy who likes making bold moves.
He does.
And let's be clear, they're playing. There's a lot of, this is a place that I think you could see Desmond Ridder go off the board here. You could see a guy like Malik Willis go off the board here. But in this mock draft, I agree with AntCap. I think if Kyle Hamilton is on the board here, they have so many needs. Safety's a big need for them. They haven't really, they thought Keanu Neal was going to be that guy. Couldn't really stay healthy. I think Kyle Hamilton in this mock draft where he falls down to 8, there's no way they pass up on a guy with his skill out of Notre Dame. Could you see them take a risk? Yes, but I just think this is where it makes sense. If Kyle Hamilton is falling down the board, the Atlanta Falcons, best player available, take Kyle Hamilton, shore up the back end of that defense. And then here's my thing, Scott. I just think you're looking at Ridder, Willis, Pickett, Howell, Corral. I don't think there's one guy that's miles above the other ones. And I think a lot of these guys are going to be available on day 2. I just don't think there's a need to jump at these guys in the top 10.
Well, so the Falcons, according to our guy Nick Mizesko, Kyle Hamilton, I mean, I saw him play many times at Notre Dame. I thought he was a solid player. They kind of put him all over the field. So he's got some versatility as well. Number 9 in a pick from trade from the Broncos, who got Russell Wilson and now giving up the number 9 pick. By the way, we 100% agree with Fighter Slayer. Mariota at quarterback is still questionable.
It's still as questionable. I will say the Falcons are in year 1 of probably a 3-year rebuild. So Mariota is a stopgap. I don't think anybody thinks that the Falcons are going to be playoff contenders this year. He's a stopgap.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the same thing with Trubisky, right? At Pittsburgh. We'll get down to pick 20 at some point. At number 9, though, they need a quarterback, a tackle. Obviously, they need a quarterback, tackle, edge rusher, and a corner. There's some teams that traditionally have built great defenses. It's been kind of so-so in Seattle over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, Seattle's interesting because, again, another spot where could we see Ike Ekwonu go off here? Yes, but this is a Pete Carroll team. This is a team that obviously he likes making splash moves. He likes getting big dynamic players in there. He wants to obviously create some excitement. By the way, it lists needs his quarterback. Everything I have heard is they are good with Drew Lock, which makes me question as to what's going on over in Seattle.
That's crazy.
But This is where I think, and this is somebody who I'm big on. I watched a lot of this guy, George Karloftis out of Purdue goes, an edge
That
rusher.
dude's a beast.
He's an absolute beast. I don't know why he's falling down boards. I think Karloftis is as good as Aiden Hutchinson. I really do. Karloftis is great. And he played, by the way, on not a good Purdue defense.
No,
So
no.
he was the
Yeah, not at
focus
all.
the entire time. Aiden Hutchinson had the benefit of having David Ajabo on the other side, so he got a lot of one-on-one matchups. Karloftis was double and triple teamed a lot of the year, and he fought through a lot of those tackles, a lot of those blocks. He's big, powerful, 6'4", 275. Listen, and let's be clear, the game that I think defines him is that game against Iowa. Iowa offensive lines, if you
Oh,
know
man.
anything about college
Yeah.
football, they are not easy to go up against. He's
Nope.
the first player to earn 10 plus pressures versus an Iowa offensive line in the PFF college era. That's how good he was against Iowa, who had who many people said had the best offensive line in college football last year for most of the year. I think it's a perfect pick for Pete Carroll. Get George Karloftis out there, put him on the defense, and have somebody who can just make some noise.
All right, so at number 9, the man from Purdue coming off the board. You can see we started off with Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Stingley, Gardner, and Neal. And now we're down to pick number 10, and the Jets are back on the clock. You had them taking Gardner at 4. So wide receiver, linebacker, that's kind of the needs right now.
Yeah. And for this one, I think this is where the first wide receiver is going to go off the board. It depends on which one you like the most. Obviously, I'm a tad biased. But I think it's basically 2 picks here for New York. I think they're between Jameson Williams and Drake London. Drake London missed an entire year. There's been some I haven't heard too many question marks about his ability. And this is where I think Drake London goes. New York has a history with USC players. How's it going, Sam Darnold and Mark Sanchez? Listen, I'm not saying it worked out great, but they love those boys from Southern Cali out in New York. This is where I think Drake London goes.
And he's
off the
roll
board.
the dice, right? I mean, he's a high risk, high reward.
Yeah, and if that's not I think they have that sewn on a pillow in the New York Jets front office.
By the way, while I'm making this pick, No Dan is burning you at 9 for your Purdue pick.
Karloftis is a absolute stud, and I don't know why he's falling down draft boards, but Karloftis is a beast.
He's huge. He's just a big.
Listen, here's all I'm saying. Let me just say this: if Trayvon Walker can go in the top 10, George Karloftis can, because George Karloftis had production.
Commanders on the clock. They need a quarterback, a guard, a center, and a linebacker. Still hard to say. It's better than the Washington football team, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, right? So, number 11. They need a guard, so that's not out there. They need a quarterback. That's not out there yet, in my opinion.
Scott.
All right.
Scott. I'm sorry. Do you know who owns the Washington Commanders and how crazy Dan Snyder is?
I do.
This is where a quarterback goes off the board. There's no way Washington gets away with a reasonable pick here. They are who we thought they were.
Look how far I'm going to have to scroll down to whoever you name.
Get down there. I think this is Malik Willis. I think he has the most future potential. He probably has the highest ceiling. I think it's between Willis and Ritter. Ritter's the most NFL ready, but I think they go with the guy with the upside. I think they take Malik Willis here. They buy into the hype. They bring in Big Liberty, Malik Willis, and Dan Snyder.
Hey, he wasn't always at Liberty, so don't let that part fool you.
Yeah.
Even though Liberty's like an up-and-coming sports conglomerate now at D1. All right, so at 11, how's everybody in the – I mean, I've heard several people fly Kenny Pickett out there. There's no way Pickett goes. First round.
Unless somebody's really in love with him.
Panthers do love him, but, man, they cannot take him at 6. Malik Willis out of Liberty, the first quarterback off the board for Nick Mizesko at 11.
Oh, Malik.
I like this. Dan Snyder thinks Wentz is the future.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He actually might not. He might not buy in. Never mind. Change my mind.
All right, so that puts our friends up in Minnesota. They need an offensive line, edge rusher, cornerback. You're going to see that as like a constant, just like pretty much all these top 12 teams need kind of that package: offensive line, edge rusher, corner. That's the reason they're bad.
Yeah.
Throw quarterback in there as well, but this draft is the kind of draft that you go out and get linemen and secondary.
Yeah. Now listen, let me again go with who I think the fun pick would be. Is in this scenario, they take Jameson Williams and build a 3-receiver package with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Jameson Williams. Obviously, Thielen's not going to be around for
like
much
that?
longer. I love that. But I don't think that's where they're going to go. I think there's some sense of sensibility in Minnesota. I think, and this is where I think I've read a lot of mock drafts. I think it's pretty consensus that this is where Trent McDuff comes off the board. Another corner, a good technician. This is somebody who Minnesota has had some trouble drafting cornerbacks. Jeff Gladney didn't quite work out. But you bring in McDuffie, and by the way, don't forget the Minnesota Vikings have a guy by the name of Patrick Peterson out there. Is that not a great guy to learn from?
Well, he's 100 years old, so yeah.
That's true. Obviously, not the biggest guy, 5'11", 193, but I mean, you look at those career highlights. Didn't allow more than 39 yards in any game in 2021.
Yep.
I mean, like I think this is where corner goes off the board. They get their guy. They get Trent McDuffie, and this is a pretty consensus. Looking across mock drafts, a lot of guys like McDuffie to fit in Minnesota.
Trent McDuffie, the Husky, goes off the board at 12, and a trade coming in here.
We did give with that. Well, this is where Cleveland would be picking, but we got somebody else.
All right, so at number, you do. From the Texans, by the way, thou should not be named, or it's like a Voldemort guy.
He is Voldemort, yeah.
Who you seen? I mean, let's scroll back up here because you had them at 3 going with Stingley Jr. So they need every position. They need multiple corners. You know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot of good picks out here. They have gone with some wide receivers in the past. I just don't think that does anything for this team yet. Like,
no,
they are. I mean, you said Falcons 3 years. Like, the Texans are like
5. If that,
like, they might as well, like, an expansion team would have a better roster than they have.
Yeah, I mean, again, and here's the weird part with all the criticism of Houston. I would like to point out Davis Mills was not that bad. Davis Mills was better than a lot of other quarterbacks last year, and his wide receiving core included you, me, and a ham sandwich. So there wasn't exactly, he wasn't throwing to some great players out there. So I could they go wide receiver here? Yes. Could they? I just don't think, I'm with you. I don't think it benefits them. I think this is best player available. This is Ike Mekonwu. If he has fallen down the board here, and Houston, who needs to shore up the offensive line, they take on the big.
This is a steal at 5, I think.
Absolute
that would
steal.
be a tremendous pick for them, and kind of like
no brainer.
Maybe like, putting it out there that we are building for the future. That's why we're taking a tackle here at number 13, who might go number 1, by the way. To the Jags. So I think that would be a tremendous steal for the Texans. At 14, Ravens on the clock, and Nick out there says, hey, I want a nice pick for my Ravens. If Nick's still out there, who do you think they take here? And, of course, our other Nick Mizesko, who do you think?
Baltimore's in a weird spot because they have this pick, mostly because I think every single player they had last year got hurt, including all 75 running backs. I don't really know how that happened, but it did. This is where they stand right now.
And corners, right?
Yeah,
that's what you're thinking right here, and there are some good ones still available.
Yeah. I think that this was one where if Ekonwu was able to fall this far, or if any of the offensive linemen were to fall this far, this is also a great spot because, you get somebody, especially somebody like, I think more a Charles Cross player that can sort of play in that scheme where the offensive line moves so much in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. But I don't think there's an offensive lineman you reach for there. I don't love the reach for linebacker and Nakobe Dean. I think this is where another Georgia Bulldog goes off the board. I think Jordan Davis goes off the board here. I know it's not the flashiest pick. He's a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
But again, a position that's a little more
It's
reliable than
exactly
a
what they need,
linebacker.
though. Like,
It is. They need a run
exactly what
defense.
they need.
Put the big boy in there. He was great. And
Look at the other Nick here. He's coming
Let's
right
go!
in for you. Ravens fans agree. Jordan Davis right there. 20 on the big board. He's going,
by the way,
6'6" the Ravens.
6'6", 341. The dude's massive. Got you, bud.
Yeah, he was the reason, one of the reasons that the whole other defense was so good, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and you've seen that with several teams at the college level. You know, if you got a good nose, kind of a good nose tackle / defensive tackle,
yeah,
it does a lot of work. There's nothing like getting that pressure right in your face right off the snap, and he was moving dudes, big dudes in the SEC. So we get to 15, about halfway through the first round. This is the Eagles, who I think is going to move up, by the way, on draft night.
Yeah,
they got this from the Dolphins. They need a linebacker. They need a defensive back. Boy, this would be a great place if you're going to reach for Dean.
What has Philly done the last 2 drafts, Scott? They're taking a wide receiver.
Yep.
Third time's the charm, man. Jamison Williams to the Philadelphia Eagles. This is
if you're the Eagles, you're loving that, right?
You love it. Yeah, it's a thunder and lightning compare. I mean, obviously, Jalen Reagor is not meant to be in Philly or possibly the NFL.
Wow.
You have a guy in Devontae Smith who, like, I've seen guys say Chris Olave here. I think Devontae Smith and Chris Olave are very similar build wide receivers. They're not going to blow you away with their breakaway speed. They just have great body control, good route runners. I think they want a speed guy here. There's no better speed guy than Jamison Williams. This guy, again, an unfortunate injury at the end of the year, but I don't see any reason why he can't come back from that. If he has any amount of explosiveness, this guy is unbelievable. And the Eagles love taking wide receivers in the first round. So you're welcome, Philly. You're welcome.
Hey, Alabama connection there in Philly. We'll see if that works out. I love the pick. 16th, it's the Saints. Oh, boy. The Drew Breesless Saints.
Yeah.
Different times in New Orleans. No Sean Payton. Quarterback, wide receiver, tackle. This is probably where one of the Ohio State boys come off the board.
Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. And I think that first of all, if there's one team that loves drafting Ohio State players, it is the New Orleans Saints. They have hit with guys like Malcolm Jenkins. They've hit with guys like Michael Thomas. They've hit with guys like Marshawn Lattimore. The New Orleans is Ohio State campus south at this point. So you're between Wilson and Olave. I like Wilson a lot. I think Wilson is the higher ceiling guy, and I think they're going to go Olave just with the question mark at Michael Thomas. I think Olave fits that sort of replacement for Michael Thomas. He's a great route runner. This is somebody who has some size, 6 foot, 187. He's just a good downfield threat. It's what they want to do with Jameis Winston. I think Olave goes off the board here. But again, you're going Olave, you're going Wilson. I think either's good. I think there's going to be a team that I think Wilson's going to have a better career. Even though I love Chris Olave, but I think this is where Olave goes off the board.
Well, Ohio State players are used to losing in the Superdome.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys later, man. Hey, thanks so much, Scott. Enjoy the rest of the draft.
I think that's a great pick at 16. Superchargers. I almost said San Diego for the 9,000th time since they've moved.
Yeah, by the way, Scott, I was in San Diego. I drove by Qualcomm and I got sad. I'm like, they should be in San Diego. They should be. I don't care that they won a title. San Diego deserves that team anyways.
Hey, move the Clippers back too while we're at it. Let's just make an exodus. They can hold on to the Padres. Keep holding on down there.
Just hold on. They got that team.
San Diego, Los Angeles Superchargers are on the clock at 17 here. They need a wideout, a tackle, and a corner. Hey, if Olave goes to the Saints, then you got Wilson sitting right here.
You do. I think for them though, their number one priority is protecting
Yep.
their beautiful man out of Oregon, Justin Herbert. This is where I think another tackle goes off the board. The ones that I've seen in this sort of area, I think the next one off the board is Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. Um, a he's a They have Rashawn Slater at left tackle. Trevor Penning played right tackle at Northern Iowa. Protect Justin Herbert, get your two tackles. I think this is makes sense to get another tackle off the board.
So PFF has him ranked 35th,
Mhm.
average draft position, which is basically 24 and a half. So at 17, I'm with you though. Wide receiver here makes zero sense. I know they need it, but they don't need it like that
Yeah.
at 17. If they draft a corner here, it's crazy.
Yep.
I don't know who they would take, but that defense is going to be enough. But Trevor Penning from UNI is going 17 to the Chargers. That'll be an interesting one to see if that one comes back around. Eagles back on the clock.
Yeah.
Let's see if they trade these two draft picks and move up on draft night. But for us, we're not trading anything. 18. They got this from the Saints. They're on the clock. Linebacker, defensive back. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if this is how the Eagles draft goes, I think they'll be very happy. Um, Getting a wide receiver in Jameson Williams at 16, I think at 18 here. This is where I think a player like Nakobe Dean makes sense, a linebacker that can continue to shore up that defense. Obviously, they play in a division with a lot of great running backs. And Nakobe Dean's a good run stopper. This is somebody who can create some pressure as well. This is where I think Nakobe Dean makes sense for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know Tecmo Eagles, uh, only one cornerback picked in the first round in 31 years, 35 years since a halfback pick, and 43 years since a linebacker. I think a linebacker is going to get picked. I think it's going to be Dean over Devin Lloyd. I could be wrong here, but I do think the taste of the Rose Bowl is going to kind of diminish some of these Utah players. Don't forget that this was a defense that had 63 points dropped on them by Ohio State. Don't forget that. But I think Dean or Lloyd goes here. I'm big on Nakobe Dean, another Georgia player off the board. Scott, how many Georgia players are going to go here in the first round? Because we might just pick the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be 5 would be minimum. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Too bad you can't just draft whole teams, right? Be like, oh
Right.
yeah, we'll take these guys. Saints back on the clock. You had them taking Olave there at 16, quarterback tackle. That's where they're sitting right now in their team needs.
Whew. This is weird because now we're getting into, I think that the Saints kind of have to reach. If they go wide receiver early, they need offensive line. This offensive line, obviously they have a great player in Ryan Ramczyk, but beyond that, it's a little tough. And I'm looking here on sort of the a lot of these rankings, and there's just not beyond the top three. A lot of these offensive tackles are going to be some flyers taken. So it's a matter
Yeah.
of which guy do you like them taking.
I think that's why
on.
you might see some of them move up because I think there's so few of them, right? So, you could have a player like Randman or Tyler Smith move in to sort of that first round, maybe even Abraham Lucas on the back end from Washington State might even find themselves in the top 32, which is crazy.
Yeah, this is, I think it's offensive lineman, the Saints. No more Teron Armstead. He leaves in the offseason. They need to replace their left tackle. And I think the best left tackle on the board at this point is Bernard Raymond out of Central Michigan. He's big, 6'7", 305. PFF loves this guy, by the way.
They do love that guy.
They love this guy. I mean, this is somebody hit a 94.3 grade last season, a 93.3 run block, 88.7 pass block.
He is a great run blocker, though.
Yeah,
Unbelievable run blocker.
He also had 0 pressures in the last 6 games. This is, but again, like throw your name at a dartboard. There are a lot of tackles here that you can take, but I think Raymond's the next one off the board.
Steelers at 20, which is personally where I think if Malik Willis drops, this is where he's going to go. But you already had him. He's out of here. I mean, you're up here at Commander style at 11. Willis is gone. So now they need a tackle. They need a quarterback. Tackles are flying off the board.
What do you mean they need a quarterback? They have Mitch Trubisky.
Mitchell at this point.
That's true.
Hey, do they go another North Carolina quarterback? They could have double UNC there. Sam Howell's the best available according to PFF.
Scott, are they going to go to quarterback? Yes. Are they going to go to the North Carolina boy? No. This is, I think, Desmond Ridder off the board here. He's the most NFL ready quarterback. I think it makes sense to give Ridder a team to play with here in his first year. Listen, he's going to have a great running back in Najee Harris. They have attempted to actually pick up some offensive linemen, which is a bold move because they didn't do that for Ben Roethlisberger the last 4 years. He's got a great wide receiver in Deontay Johnson. This is not a bad spot for Ridder to fall. Mike Tomlin can mentor another quarterback. This is where I think if I think you can interchange Ridder and Willis. I think if Ridder goes to Washington, I think Willis goes here to Pittsburgh or vice versa. But in this draft, I got Desmond Ridder here at 20.
And I got to flex my draft knowledge here.
Okay, all right.
1983, Pittsburgh could have taken another Pittsburgh quarterback by the name of Dan Marino.
Sure. He was okay.
Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't like him.
He's got tiny hands.
They don't like him.
No.
They don't like him. That's unfortunate for him. Ridder going 20th. Mm-hmm. Average draft spot was 36. Might as well call it 37. Steelers reaching at 20, according to my man Nick Mizesko. That puts the Pats on the clock, who have a lot of needs. This is probably the most needs they've had in a long time.
So the Pats are tough because you have two choices here. Do you go with where I think they should go, or do I go where I think Bill Belichick will go? Because there's one thing Bill Belichick hates doing is drafting wide receivers. Like, he does not like it. He wants to pick up scrappy dudes in the 5th round. So could Garrett Wilson go here? Yeah, and I think it'd be a great fit for Mac Jones, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. This is where I think Devin Lloyd comes off the board. And
long overdue, right?
Overdue.
If Devin Lloyd falls to them at 21, like
we might not even take a minute off the clock. Like, they might have already turned their pick in early. Like, somebody turned their homework in early a day. Like, if Devin Lloyd's there,
it does line up that way. I mean, look at this. Yeah. If Dean falls to 18, like you have him here, or let's say Dean or Lloyd gets taken earlier, I mean, it's going to be nice. They know whoever Philly takes, they're going to probably get a nice linebacker there at 21.
Yeah. And Bill Belichick loves those linebackers. I mean, how many years did he have Jamie Collins there? He had Kyle Van Noy. Lloyd is a great prospect, and to be able to get drafted by Bill Belichick, congratulations.
No, yeah, that's a big deal in the first round. I personally think I'm going to let you make your pick here, but you got Wilson Garrett still sitting there in a trade from Las Vegas, who we know who they got for 22.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah, some other wideout guy who's a lot better than Garrett Wilson. But here we are at 22. You think Wilson's going to have a better career than Olave?
Yeah.
Do they not run up there and just say, yeah, Garrett Wilson's our man, let's move on?
Well, Scott, let me ask you a qualifying question. Do the Green Bay Packers like Aaron Rodgers? Because it's unclear if they actually do, in that they have Jordan Love for a reason that we still don't understand. And
still don't know.
They took a cornerback last year. I am going to go with the fact that they actually like Aaron Rodgers and they want him to succeed in life. Garrett Wilson falls to them at 22. They snatch him up.
Let's look at the wideouts here, because you got Garrett Wilson, Skye Moore, George Pickens, by the way. We didn't get to see a lot of him at Georgia. He's starting to move up the board a little bit. I think Rodgers would hate him. Just from a maturity standpoint, I think Garrett Wilson's the better pick. Just really all across the board than over George Pickens. But I'm just calling it out. Don't be surprised if you see George Pickens in the first round.
I think I'm looking through this draft, Scott. I see at least 2, maybe 3 more wide receivers coming off the board here in these last picks. This is the part of the draft that's weird, Scott, because there's just the talent level is not at the there's a lot of like second round talent here that I think in most years they'd be snatched up in the 40s and 50s. I think this is where like teams are going to take shots on guys because there's just a lot of unknown out there.
Moving on to 23. It's, well, your hometown team. It's the folks out there in Arizona. It's the
Arizona.
Cardinals. They need offensive line, defensive line, and they're still looking for the replacement for Patrick Peterson a decade later.
Yeah. So this is a spot where I've seen a lot of mock drafts have Carloftus falling down here. I will not, as a guy who watches a lot of Big Ten football, I will not let George Karlaftis fall down to 23. I think he's too good. This is
I'll jump in there and say that Andrew Booth Jr. I know I'm a Clemson guy. He's gonna be a good corner for somebody.
Yeah.
In this opening round.
I think this is where a corner goes off the board. Obviously, they have Byron Murphy, but they need somebody else to shore up that defense, get some stops. Their pass defense was absolutely putrid last year. I think this is where Kaiir Elam goes off the board.
Yeah.
Out of Florida. Listen, he
seems like more of their kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lockdown guy. This is somebody who you saw at the end of the year not get a lot of targets thrown at him because he was so good. He's a little raw, but I just don't want them. I mean, 6'2", 191, and I just don't want him to. I don't want the Cardinals to take an offensive player to get ruined by Cliff Kingsbury. Thank you.
All right, so he's off the board. That puts the Dallas Cowboys, number 24. Lineman on both sides, and they need a linebacker.
Yeah. Hey, Dallas. How you guys doing? I think this is where another offensive lineman goes off the board. Boy, I mean, I'll say this. For all the criticism the Dallas Cowboys have gotten over the years, Scott, how good have they been at picking offensive linemen? I mean,
they've been amazing.
Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith.
And a lot of them have been from the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I think they go to another Big Ten. This is where Tyler Linderbaum comes off the board. Iowa offensive lineman, you can count on them like a clock. He's a big.
Look at this guy's mug. I mean, look at this guy's neck.
He's a big corn-fed center. And by the way, he can play guard. He's a little undersized, actually, 6'2", 296, but his technique is out of this world.
They can put 10, 15 pounds on him easy.
Yeah. This I think, continue to go back to the bread and butter. Draft your Big Ten offensive lineman, have fun.
25. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. They don't need a quarterback. That we do know. They got one of the best ones. They need a wide receiver or someone kind of an interior defensive player.
I think they're not going to go either of those.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, I listen. Could they go with a wide receiver off the board? Yes, there's actually one I really like here, but I think they need something to help Josh Allen with. Okay, listen, their best running back last year was Josh Allen.
Yep.
They need a running back.
Wow,
This is where I think
round, Nick?
Breece Hall. Now listen, Breece Hall is not your prototypical running back. I think Breece Hall he's more of a, I don't want to say Alvin Kamara type because that's what we say, but he is a pass catching back that can run the ball. Devin Singletary is not the answer. He was not good.
No, he was not.
Matt Breida got brought in. He was not good. I think they need a running back. Could they go with a wide receiver here? Absolutely 100%. But I think the wide receiver class is is deep enough that they can find somebody day 2. I think Breece Hall is good enough to go here, be that sort of all around back. Is it a reach? Yeah, but
you gotta love someone to take anybody like that at 25.
I just think it just makes sense. He's a do it all guy, and I think that's where you're going to see Breece Hall come off the board.
Breece Hall, I love the pick. We'll see how it turns out in the draft. Number 26, we're getting on the home stretch here. As the Tennessee Titans on the clock, wide receiver, guard, center, edge rusher. They got some nice picks that are still sitting out here.
Yeah, I think a wide receiver goes off the board here. I think if this is, if you look at the wide receivers that are available, there's a lot of good ones. I have not heard Skye Moore's name mentioned a lot in the first round. I think he's going to be a day 2 guy. The guy who I think falls to them here is I there's two names here that I really like. Jahan Dotson out of Penn State, just an absolute
I like Dotson
burner.
a lot.
I mean, he is an absolute burner.
I'm surprised he's not higher,
Yeah, I mean, again, who's the guy? Rondale Moore last year. He's very similar build. I think that sort of small, quick wide receiver is tough. And it's been one of those guys that everybody's trying to find that guy, and I don't think they've done a great job of finding them so far. But who I think goes off the board here is Treylon Burks. I think that it makes sense. It's a more all-around wide receiver to play opposite of AJ Brown.
He's the least risky one if you're talking about right now between Moore and Pickens and Burks.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're looking for with Ryan Tannehill is least risky.
Yep.
I mean, and again, your offense is Derrick Henry anyways. Like, let's be honest. Your offense is Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he might be the best quarterback on the team too. Who knows? All right, that takes us to 27 with Treylon Burks coming off the board. Linderman, Hall, and Burks the last couple picks. That puts the Buccaneers on the clock. We thought they would need a quarterback. They don't need a quarterback anymore, but they do desperately need some offensive linemen and an interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, this is another O-line pick. There's a lot of good ones still on the board. And again, I think there's some value here in day 2, especially interior. This is a team that lost lost both their guards, but they brought in Shaq Mason from New England. This is where I think they go probably
great lineman.
Great. I think they probably go best player available at this position. Zion Johnson makes sense. You get to go protect Tom Brady. Congratulations, kid. You got yourself the dream scenario.
Don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up, man. Don't be the guy that lets the sag that ends Tom Brady's career. I think this one is pretty easy for the Bucs.
That puts the Packers back on the clock here. Mm-hmm. Last pick at 22, you had Garrett Wilson. They need an offensive lineman.
They do. I don't think they're going offensive lineman, though. This is where somebody who I think is better than where I see a lot of people drafted. This is somebody who I've seen slip into day 2. But Green Bay Packers, they lost a lot of defense this year. Zadarius Smith is out. Preston Smith got a new contract, but I think they want some. That's where they've been let down in the past, especially in pass rush. This is where I think David Ajabo goes out of Michigan. I love Ajabo. This is somebody who I think at times during the year was better than Aiden Hutchinson. He's got the prototypical side. This is somebody who does have some comparisons. The guy I think of a little bit, which isn't a great comparison for him, is Ziggy Ansah when the Lions took him at 6. Sort of that raw athleticism off the edge. He's going to need a little refinement, but I love Ajabo. I think Ajabo should be a mid-first round pick, not an end first round pick. But I mean, look at 6'3", 250. Again, he only played 26 career snaps for 2021, but this guy's got just quick twitch off the edge. He's fast, an absolute beast.
Texas is 29, and someone asked out there, Tecmo Eagles, like, how many rounds are you doing? We're just doing one round. Just the first round. We're not trying to wear Nick out. We're going to come back next Tuesday and really break the draft down about the winners and the losers, the reaches. I think it's intriguing to see, where some of these quarterbacks are going to end up kind of flushing out, because it's a team need. Really league wide, to get some of these quarterbacks. But, at this point, we've been talking about this for 2 months now, ever since we started doing the show.
Yep.
There's not many great quarterbacks in this draft. Now, could they be great? Sure. But their resumes just aren't great. Yeah. Chiefs are on the clock. This is a trade they got from
back-to-back picks for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Give us both of them. They need a defensive line, corner, wide receiver. I mean, they've gone with Clemson corners in the past. I think Booth would be kind of a slam dunk here.
Yeah, and if Andrew Booth is on the board here, He's going here. They lost Charvarius Ward in the offseason. They need a cornerback. Booth, Scott, give us the scouting report on Booth. The tape that I've seen on him, this guy. I mean, listen, he's not as flashy as Sauce Gardner, but this is a guy who I think needs a little refinement. He's gotten beat on some big plays, but his athleticism makes up for that.
Some of it is, when you're talking about playing corner at Clemson, and Clemson's had some good ones. They've had some great secondary. I mean, we go all the way back to Brian Dawkins, Terry Kennard. Um, you know, but when you play with Brent Venables, you're playing like a pro style, very what's the best way to put it? Very like exotic kind of defense for a college level, right? So a lot of the times you get beat when you're watching these Clemson games, you don't know what happened. Right? Was the corner? Was a safety supposed to be there? Was a linebacker supposed to be dropping? You never know with Brent Venables' defense. So I think they run to the podium if they can put Andrew Booth on the Chiefs. I think at some point somebody's taking him before they get here. It's just corners and edge rushers, man. This is kind of what the whole league is about.
Yeah, and then you go here at number 30. I know Devontae Wyatt is sitting up there. I don't love the fit in Kansas City with Chris Jones. I think if they're going to go defense, it's got to be an edge rusher. Could they go wide receiver here? Yeah. I think you love a pass rusher like Boye Mafe out of Minnesota here at Kansas City. Yeah. But I know they've spent a lot in the offseason on wide receivers. They brought in Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They brought in Juju Smith-Schuster. But I just think this is a spot where they can't go wide receiver. They can't go out and get a Jahan Dotson because they already have Mecole Hardman. Yeah. They can't go with two of them. I think you have to go edge rusher here. This is where I think Boye Mafe out of Minnesota off the board. Good edge rusher, somebody who can play on the outside of Chris Jones. I mean, this is somebody who sort of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, 5-year man for Minnesota. Most of the people got him in the second round, but it's all about need. And we got 2 picks left in this opening round. Bengals, and then the Rams. The Super Bowl Rams will not have a pick. It'll be actually Detroit on the back end.
Thank you, Matt Staff. I mean, did that trade not work out great for the Rams?
Pavin out here on
what's up, Pav?
LinkedIn saying hello. Good to see him. Good luck with the phase journey. And who you got at 31 for the Bengals?
Bengals are weird because the Bengals, they need an offensive lineman. I mean, they need to protect Joe Burrow with everything they possibly
Interior
can.
Offensive lineman too.
Yeah. I just don't love the offensive linemen that are left
available here. Yeah.
I mean, you do have. Could they go defense? Could a guy like Devontae Wyatt fit?
Yeah,
here?
Would you take him just knowing you got him? I mean, they you got DJ Reader there. He's my guy.
Yeah.
But the chance to get Wyatt at 31, you'd think they would jump at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at their depth chart. Their D-line, Hubbard, Reader, B.J. Hill, and Trey Hendrickson. It's a good line. I think B.J. Hill is replaceable. I don't think he's anything special. I think Henderson is a stud, and Sam Hubbard is an Ohio State guy. I think, listen, if one of these guys falls, I think a guy like Tyler Smith, you could see him here, but I just think they're probably, if there's one of these offensive linemen, they would really love a guy like Tyler Linderbaum to fall into their laps. But I think as it is with the draft as it goes, I think Devontae Wyatt is too much talent not to take him, and they can move around that defensive line enough.
100% agree. Final pick of the first round. And it's those Lions. We had to scroll all the way up to number 2. You had them taking Hutchinson there. And, of course, our guy, John Beast, is jumping in there.
The Beast?
Who you got going to the Pats at 21? That was Devin Lloyd from Utah. They would love to have Devin Lloyd at 21. I don't know if he's going to be there, but that would be a great pick for the Pats. All right, final team on the clock before we let everybody go. Mm-hmm. What do you got?
Yep. Okay. Yeah. You read that too. Kind of cool. Yeah.
Who are you thinking here?
Listen, Detroit. Sorry, you had to watch Matt Stafford go win a title. It sucks. There are a lot of great players here. I
Yeah.
think, though, Detroit getting a pass rusher first, this is where Wilson Pickett, a.k.a. Kenny Pickett, a.k.a. the
Oh
Pittsburgh
no!
Tiny Hands. This is
No!
Kenny Pickett's spot. I mean, take your pick of the three white quarterbacks that are there. Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, Matt Corral. One of them's going here. I think it's Pickett. I think he gets to sit behind Jared Goff, learn from somebody else who has baby hands. And Detroit gets a quarterback in the first round, and then they start filling some of those spots later. Kenny Pickett, welcome to Detroit. Sorry, man. Sorry about your career.
I'm gonna give you another one here. Watch this Quay Walker.
Yeah.
To be the final pick of the round. But Kenny Pickett it is. They're grading your draft.
Oh no, I didn't know this was happening. Oh no!
No, I don't want. No, don't make me pay something.
All right, never mind. I'm good.
All right,
you
this is cool because we get to see the whole thing here. So you had Thibodeau going first, Hutchinson, Stingley, Gardner, Neil Cross, Trayvon Walker, which I think Giants would be ecstatic at number 7 to have that. That was my favorite pick, by the way. Hamilton going to the Falcons. Carloftus, the beast from Purdue, to Seattle. Drake London going to the Jets at number 10. Willis to the Commanders. McDuffie to the Vikings. The guy from NC State, Ikwandu, going to the Texans because they're terrible.
Because I need everybody.
Jordan Davis at 14. Even the Ravens fans are in the chat. They were loving that. You got Jameis Williams, the speedster, going to Philly. Olave to the Saints. Trevor Penning to Northern Iowa. Nakobe Dean. I love that. I mean, there's no way Nakobe Dean makes it to 18. I'm just
probably not.
He's flying up the boards. Rahman coming out of Central Michigan to the Saints. Not a sexy pick, but they need one. Ritter, I thought was a crazy pick. There's some crazy picks. That was one of your craziest ones at 20, but they are looking for quarterbacks. And I think if Willis doesn't, if there's no Willis here at 11, you'll see him at 20. Brees Hall down here at 25, I thought was a crazy one, but I would love to see it in the first round. You'd be a genius. And then finishing up with Kenny Pickett down at 32. There's no, is there, I didn't see a grade. They said they were
You had to pay for your grade. You had to pay for it.
Pay for a grade?
It's $1.99.
What is this, UNC?
Yeah. Oh, got him.
That was
Come on, Clemson. All right, settle down. All right, bud.
That was a low blow. I hit him with a low blow. I'm sorry about that. So the draft out of here. Nicely done, my friend. I thought all in all, this is just a crazy, roll the dice kind of draft. Need is going to be ever so apparent. I don't think best available is even a thing in this draft.
No. But from a viewership perspective, this is as fun as it gets because I don't think there's even the number 1 overall pick is not set in stone. It is a 50-50. It's like a 45-45-10 between Thibodeau, between Hutchinson, and between Trayvon Walker, I guess. He's up there. I just think that this draft is going to be an absolute blast to watch because I think there's a lot of unknowns. And Scott, I do think because the first round talent, I don't want to say the first round talent is shallow, but because it's very
you got a B+ from Tecmo Eagles, by the way.
Hey, thanks, Tecmo Eagles.
For free. He said for free.
That was free. I will send you $1.99 on Venmo. But because I don't want to say the talent isn't good, I think it is just very specific. I think it's spread out across the position. So you're looking at elite talent across the board in a lot of positions, but there's not a lot of depth in the first round. Scott, I think there's going to be a lot of trades on draft day. I think there's going to be a lot of, with
Tons.
So many teams with multiple picks, you're going to see a lot of teams moving up, moving back. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch. By the way, we got to give a shout out.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we got to give a shout out. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter yesterday, but Kirk Herbstreit, who's usually at the draft, is going to be missing it because doctors found a blood clot and he can't travel. So he said that he's good and it's all taken care of. But obviously our best out to
really
Kirk Herbstreit.
Informing anybody.
So we're not going to have Kirk there, and we're not going to have Mel Kiper there because Mel Kiper said he's unvaccinated and he's not going to travel to Vegas. So It's going to be a little different looking, although I think Mel Kiper is perfectly fine sitting in that office he has with the mahogany bookshelves. Like it just sits behind him and do his picks.
Highly coachable. He's got a great motor.
He's got great hands, great motor. This is a guy who I think can go first round pick, but he could be a second round grade. I really like him. Shout out to Mel.
I mean, that's going to be the funny thing, right? It's just you're going to have some teams that the need that they have, and that's why I didn't let you trade. So a lot of times you be trading here, saying, "Man, there's no reason for us to take this guy right now when we can move back into the second, third round and get a player that we need and try to get some other value for some teams that want to be moved up." James Davis out here on YouTube saying it's crazy right now. Twitter's reporting the Chiefs have been talking to teams about from the 7th pick on up. So that's crazy. Or on down.
Yeah,
either way.
I mean they've got 2 picks in the back half of the draft. Could they move up? I don't know who they'd be going for, like who their pick is. Is it maybe one of the offensive linemen to help Patty Mahomes? Because Patty Mahomes
try to get out there to get
crazy.
a Charles Cross or somebody like that. I mean, that would be big for their team. Never sexy, right?
No,
never sexy. But pretty awesome. If you guys enjoy this, we're here every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back breaking down the draft, giving your team a grade on how you guys did and what that relates to the upcoming season. Cannot wait to see where these quarterbacks go. I think that's the big question mark. I think it's going to be later in the draft, but once one starts falling, then people start sweating, right?
The dam's been broken.
Yeah, so we could see that. If you haven't listened to our podcast, it's easy to do. Get out there. It's anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. It's like for Scott Cole's show with Nick Mizesko. And of course, you can watch our VODs on anywhere. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn,
What's up, LinkedIn?
Twitch.
What's up, Pavin?
Yeah, Pavin's out there on LinkedIn watching. Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can watch something, we are out there. We appreciate you guys being here. We will see you guys next week. And I hope you enjoy the draft. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back rocking. By the way, I'm going to Braves and Rangers on Saturday. I saw the Mavericks play last night. And I'm going to the Stars.
I'm going to the Suns game tonight, Scott. I get to see the Fighting Jay Crowders.
Yeah. Flashback to the Celtics 8 years ago. That sounds amazing. All right, everybody. We are out of here. Scott Cole, Nick Mizesko. Thanks for everybody up there. Godspeed. God bless. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you here next Tuesday on the show.